Good morning, my Teaserking family. 11:30 instead of 11. Who's counting? I hope everybody's well. I'm very good today. Hard to believe it's already July 4th. And it's already passed. Time does fly. All right. Hope you all had a wonderful or having a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I know the gold store was closed. They closed Thursday for the 4th. They didn't open. They're closed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Their normal is they're closed Sunday and Monday. So he knew it was closed Thursday, so he closed it Friday, Saturday, which is kind of weird. I mean, they're a retail store. They sell diamonds or jewelry and gold and silver, so it's kind of strange that he would be closed Friday and Saturday. I know Thursday, but that's at an office, right? You close the office down for the 5 days. Anyway, so they were closed, as we saw, as I suggested, brics or no comex because of no U.S. with the U.S. being closed, and my prediction was 2,400, and we got in at 2,391. I only missed it by $9, but you can see the last 2 days was all up derivative and no down derivative. So you can see what happens when the U.S. stays out. It goes up $35 to $23.91. We're almost at 24. Silver, now this I don't expect to hold, 31.21. I would expect it to go back to 30 once the U.S. gets their hands in it. But gold, I don't expect to come down. Gold, I think it's getting, I don't know, every time it jumps to 34 or 2340, 2400, every time it jumps there, it doesn't stay, it gets pulled back by the derivatives because their derivatives are in. Now, Friday killed all the derivatives because it was the end of the quarter and the derivatives got to get paid off. So the U.S. probably printed a lot of money to pay off their bad derivatives. So in other words, if you buy you think gold's going to go down and it's $50, or in this case, let's say 23.50, and you go, I'm shorting it down to 23, and it doesn't, you've lost the option. You have so much time to play the option, and so what you're doing is selling at 23.50. You got to buy at 23, whatever the strike price is, which it doesn't get there. That's why they keep hitting with the derivatives to get down, but they're all done. So now there's new derivatives, and these will start at 23.90 or whatever. So we should see much more action, 24, 25, on its way to 3. The more brics talks, the better it is. So it's funny. Here's my problem. I know why gold's going up, right? Everything in Austrian economics is free market. It's supply and demand, which means there's more demand than supply, the price goes up. That's what you have in gold. So I love hearing these guys try to explain why gold's going up. Well, for the simple reason is, why does the Joe Montana rookie card go up? Because there's more people buying than selling, and it gets up all the way up to 125,000 because the demand for the card, and there's very few cards because there's very few PSA 10s. 1981. I know I looked for months to try to find. I found a perfect one, but it's still off center. I've showed it to you, And it's hard to get that perfect center, but you could still be 60-40 and get a 10 on it, which I'm hoping. Anyway, that's part of it. So why is that card 120? Why is the Tom Brady card, the guy's trying to sell it for $9 million? Because they only made 10 of them, and there's a lot more than 10 people. Now he doesn't want to part with it, so he's putting up $9 million. But we know until it's sold, it's not worth $9 million. And now maybe another one is sold. There's 10 of them, so maybe number one sold for $8 million. I don't know. Hard to say. I mean, how many are there that have been opened? I mean, if they come in packs, you could go through 1,000 boxes and not find one, right? Or maybe it's somebody else who was in 2000 rookie. I'm sure they did the rookies at 10. That's what happens in most sets. You'd get, Marino and Barry Sanders and Emmett, and they all have 10 counts or 25 counts. So why does anything go up in price? Because there's demand for it. So why they can't understand why the gold price goes up, it's beyond. Well, it's, first they don't recognize this is derivatives. So this is paper. They don't even understand that. So usually at that point, that's the end of the conversation. You guys don't even understand this is paper gold. We're talking not the coins. Then there's no point in going on. And I'm discovering more and more about me being more stoic and being more INFJ. And I don't even want to waste time. It's like, as soon as I start hearing bullshit, I just walk away. I don't need to listen to this. This is clearly insane. So that's the point. Why is it go? Well, this is paper. It's going up because the central banks are buying gold, but still they're taking delivery of it. So COMEX is kind of weird in the fact they don't really have the physical bars and people are coming to buy them like I do when I go to my store. It's more people are just playing derivative game, and then somebody says, oh, I want to buy them. They're not prepared for that. That's set up for. It's just a price mechanism. It's a paper price mechanism. That's what COMEX is. It's totally illegal, and it should be shut down. Why it's allowed is just how corrupt everything is. So with that said, we understand it's corrupt, and you can only play the game that's being played. So it's a corrupt game, but can it go up? Yes, if they start buying it off, which they are doing. China and India and Russia, they're all buying the gold off of COMEX, and then they're running out. So if there's no more gold left on COMEX is gone. So their little game ends if they don't have the physical. Same thing with silver and the other products, fresh orange juice and pork bellies and coffee and all that. It's all price fixed. It's the stupidest system I've ever seen. Why don't you just let the free market fucking run everything like it does everywhere else? So that's your problem. So how they don't understand why the price is going up just blows your mind. What do you mean you don't know why? Well, I think it's the central bank's buying. Yeah, well, it's COMEX derivatives being blown up, and they keep going up, and therefore that's why this is a paper price. This is not a physical price. But since it's blowing up, and then we go buy physical, and then that will go and we'll get a physical price. How we don't have a physical price is beyond me, but we need to understand that, right? You need to understand there's no physical price for gold. So nobody really knows when you go to the store and get a quarter ounce or get an ounce for 2,400. You don't know what that price is. That's the paper derivative price of gold, but it is not the physical price of gold. The physical is much, much higher. And now we're going to go there. So now you can understand it and go, but that's the problem. People don't, and they'll talk about it. And then I love when they do charts on this. How the fuck can you chart a paper product that's been manipulated and price fixed? What are you charting? You're charting what? It's supply. So like some of these guys I watch, like Robbie Faber, and he just sits there and he does his charts, and Mike McLeod and Maloney, I think, and all these guys with the charts are clueless. As soon as you see a guy with the chart, just turn it off. How many times have you seen me with the chart? Except for obviously this chart, right? Where I'm not showing you a chart, I'm showing you the price. So anyway, that's really what it's at. So that's the point. The price is there, but it's not a physical price. But we're going to get a physical price for gold and silver, and we know it must be much higher because this is pushed down, right? Like I said, silver at 31.21 won't stay because they're going to do derivatives to lower it, not because anybody's selling the silver. In fact, it's the opposite. Nobody's selling. Everybody's buying. All the like in India, they need silver for the solar panels. So they're buying all they can. There's no selling going on. They're buying to put into the solar panels. Seems like a waste of time, but whatever. So it's using up a lot of silver. Gold, you don't use up. And then I'm tired of hearing silver is like a production metal versus money. It's money. Don't fuck with that. It is money. So when people don't know that, then they're out of their minds. The fact it's also used in solar panels doesn't mitigate that it's money. It's the only legal money, gold and silver. So the rest of the world realizes that every good country has gold and silver, and they've always been very successful. And the ones that go on fiat, the paper money, not backed by anything, always collapse. So we're collapsing, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's all over. Your only hope would be to go with gold-backed currency. That would rescue. You could make the gold price very high, and that would make it. But I don't know. I was listening to some guy, but he's an idiot, saying they want the gold price low. But he was a Keynesian, and it was like, it made no sense to me. What do you mean you want it? Why would you want the gold price low? Something, I don't know. And then it doesn't correlate to interest rates and all that. That's immaterial. You can always tell the Keynesians, they talk fast and you can't understand what they're saying. So I was a Keynesian and he's saying, well, they want gold price low, but it won't stay low because of BRICS. And you're like, but why would they want it low? What purpose does it serve? It should just be like a Rolex or a Mantle card. Whatever the market is what the market is. And that's the problem. You can't fight the market. The market always wins. That's what people want. You want a yellow swimsuit, you're going to find it and you're going to buy it. I mean, that's just the way it works. All right. So a little of that. Anyway, so 23.91, looking for a much higher gold price. We know the physical price of gold much higher. The question is when they as soon as they lose control, which is when BRICS pops in September, October, it'll be all gone, because once BRICS hits September, October, they need a much higher price, and they got all the gold. They can price it whatever they want. All right, let's go to baseball. So let's look at yesterday's first. And let's see how we did. We had Pitt under 7.5. Huh. They win 14-2. Now, we had our pitcher, Paul Scanes, going. He gives up the 2 runs, but Cervino with a 3.83 ERA gave up 14 to Pitt, who doesn't hit much. Then we take St. Louis, which did get the win. But it had to go to 11 innings, but we'll take it, 7-6. Not the game I expected. The Yankees under 8 is a push. They lose 5-3 to Boston. We have Cleveland, who loses to the 49ers. We have Cincinnati, who loses to the Tigers somehow. We have Miami over 8. It's 3-2. We lose that one. Atlanta under 7.5. Nope. Philly beats them 8-6. Tough day. Minnesota over 8.5. That was our big game. That wins 13-12, right? Over 8. Kansas City over 10.5 doesn't. It's 4-2. Baltimore under 8.5. That's a winner. Toronto over 7. That's a loser. I went over in that game with Seattle, really. And then San Diego over 8.5. That's a winner. So on our units, we lose a 3 unit, we hit the 5 unit, then we lose 2 3 units, then we lose a 5 unit and win a 5 unit, then we win a 3 unit and lose a 3 unit. So we break even there, we break even there. We're up to, we lose 4 units. Okay, not bad. For 2, 4, 6, for 8 games, we lose 4 units. I can live with that. Now let's go to today. Now let's look at some surprising scores and try to, I took Cincinnati over Detroit because they beat the Yankees 3 in a row. Aha, I got a streak. They're at home against a weak Tiger team, and the Tigers beat them. And there's very little you can do there. You're betting the streak. Now you don't stay on Cincinnati. They lose once, you get off of them. The Cubbies beat the Angels 5-1. Pittsburgh gets 14 runs on the Mets to 2. And here's where Paul Scanes, 2.12 ERA, gets Luis Severino with a 3.83 ERA. So it should go under, right? The over-under was 7.5, 14-2. So the bullpen, see, this is where the variable of the bullpen gets you, right? You're okay probably through 5 or 6, and then all of a sudden the bullpen comes in and they don't play well, and then they give up, obviously, a lot of runs. And there goes the under based on the starting pitching. Hard to base it on the bullpen. The best bullpen's Cleveland with like a 2.5. So maybe you can go Cleveland under, which I had Cleveland and lost to the 49ers. So that's what happens. St. Louis, we won with Sonny Gray. Boston beats the Yankees. We had the game under. And actually, we pushed 5-3 in 10 innings. So it was 3-3 going into the 10th. So we're winning. This whole bullshit guy on seconds. It's like getting your under fucked in college football because they give them the ball at the 25. All of a sudden they score a few touchdowns and your under turns into an over. It's funny how the whole game they can't score. Right, it's 10-10. Or like that Michigan-Ohio State game about 5 years ago. I locked the under. And it's not even close. It's like 17-10 late in the fourth. I'm under 50. And then Ohio State ties it just before the end of the game. And then it goes to overtime, and it's Ohio State scores a touchdown, Michigan scores a touchdown. But they couldn't do it in the regular game. They weren't doing any of this. Then they get into this overtime, and all of a sudden they're able to throw 20-yard passes that they couldn't throw in the game. You went, what the fuck's going on here? So I get my under fucked because they score like 24 points in this bullshit overtime. Overtime is not, let's be fair. So that's where the socialism comes in. Let's be fair. They got to touch the ball. You got to kick the fucking ball off. You can stop them. Then they got to punt. Then you score, you win. If they drive down the field and score, they win. Why do we need, they have to get the ball. And let's give them the ball at the 25. What the fuck kind of rules are these things? And why do you play the game then if you're going to end it like that? Anyway, the 49ers beat Cleveland 4-2. Ryan Walker drops to a 1.97 ERA, which it wasn't there before, and Bibby was a 3.67. It was not Walker who started, I'm sure of that. And Tanner Bibby, it wasn't a 1.97 who started. I would have bet the game under. So to take Cleveland, it had to be a different pitcher. The White Sox, Miami, 3-2. That's what we figure. Neither team can hit. Didn't I play? Yeah, I played Miami, but why would I play it over? That's ridiculous. That makes no sense. Detroit beats Cincy 5-4. Detroit, with their weak pitcher Olsen, is now 3-8 with a 3.22. I was listening to the game, and the reason this guy can't win is he doesn't know how to win. They're not teaching him how to win the games. So in other words, when it gets tough, they pull him. So I'm listening. It's like the sixth inning. It's 4-2 Detroit. And then here comes this big guy up who hit a home run off of him, and they take him out. So he doesn't learn how to win. He gets pulled. The other guy comes in. The other guy hits a line drive down the line, and it's caught. And when you listen to Detroit, anytime Detroit makes a catch, it's the most unbelievable catch you've ever seen. Great announcers. They're so bad. But see, here's a tough situation, and what do? They pull him. So he doesn't learn how to win. That's why this guy's 2-8. I've never seen anything like it. It's terrible managing. Let the guy learn how to win. Let him fight his way out of it, and stop with the 100 pitches. All it teaches is, well, you're at 80. Okay, gosh darn it, you pitched well. Okay, let's pull you out. And then they shut down in the fifth inning because they pitched 80 pitches. That's not what you want. I want this guy to go 9 innings today. And you're going to figure out how to throw 150 pitches and get out of jams and do it. And that's what they should be doing. Not this babying 100 pitch that doesn't even, it's 80 pitches. I think this is his last batter because, the guy up next hit a home run off of him, and he better not face him. I mean, God, we don't want him to figure out how to pitch. Let's take him out because it's a tough situation. Unbelievable. Philly, Atlanta. Philly 8, Atlanta 6. Aaron Nola wins 10-4 against Max Fried 7-4. Now this one we went under because we had Nola with the 3.3 ERA and Fried with the 3.1 ERA. Now they're not twos, so maybe we got to really adjust to the twos. And this is why I hate going against Philadelphia, because they hit, and so does Atlanta. They're very good hitting. Let's see if our guy played. No. So Bryce Harper's still out. That was the other factor, because Bryce Harper was out. Didn't fucking matter. They got 15 hits, and there's a lot of errors in baseball, because here they get 8 runs. They only got 6 RBIs. So there was errors. How many errors were in the game? Atlanta makes 3 errors. What is this? Little league? How do they make 3 errors? It's insane. So I'm just saying, there's a lot of times they give up 8 runs, but 6 of them are earned. Like here, you only had 6 RBIs. But I see it all over the place because I'm looking at the pitchers, and I'll see, okay, they gave up so many hits, and then so many runs, and then so many earned runs. And there's a lot of times they gave up 5 runs, but only 3 of them were earned. So the ERA looks better than it is, because really they gave up the runs anyway. So again, you got 3 errors. How do you factor that in? So you analytics go, where do you factor in 3 errors in the game? Texas 3, Tampa nothing. Lorenzen against Baez. I didn't play the game. I couldn't figure it out. Oh no, yeah, couldn't figure it out. Houston Mini was an easy one. I played the over. The over was only 8, and you had some weak pitching going on. I thought this was probably the luck of the day. This one, and this was a 5. Atlanta, I thought, would be a good one. Colorado 4, KC 2. I didn't play. I took KC over 10, but I didn't bet it. And there was pretty good pitching. And it's hard with Colorado. That's why I didn't bet it. It's hard with Colorado. 10.5. Are they going to score 1,000 runs? Hey, Greg or John. Baltimore 3, Oakland 2. I had Baltimore under 8.5. I had that. Albert Suarez has come from the bullpen to start. He's now 5-2 with the 2.48. Hulk Hogan is 1-3 with the 3. But he doesn't give up a lot of runs. To hold Baltimore to 3 is very strong. So Oakland doesn't hit. Okay, just like Seattle doesn't hit. Seattle should have been an under. Toronto, Seattle. Seattle wins 2-1. For some reason, I go over 7, even though I know Seattle's got 4 hitters who don't hit 210. So you just get by a few of the guys, and then that's it. So 2-1 Seattle. San Diego 10, Arizona 8. I have San Diego over 8, score 18 runs. They've both been hitting very well. They're both batting averages are up. So unless you get a real stud pitcher. And then the Dodgers 8, Milwaukee 5. I didn't play this one, but it makes sense. Milwaukee hits, the Dodgers hit. So it makes sense it would go over. So that's yesterday's action. Can you believe it's July 6th already? It was just going to be July 4th. And now it's July 6th. It's freaking crazy. All right. So let's look at today's action. We start off with Boston and the Yankees, 1 o'clock. It's almost 12, so we got an hour. Boston, Yankees minus 190.9. Josh Winkowski, 2-1 with a 2.80 against Garrett Cole, 1-1 with the Sixers. So Garrett Cole's a very good pitcher. He's injured. He finally came back, just like Verlander or Scherzer. Verlander's still injured, I guess. Scherzer came back. He's pitching well. So I don't know what to do with it. Garrett Cole, I mean, he's 1-1 with a 6.23. He's not in his rhythm yet. Over under 9. Winkowski 2-1 with a 2.80. Let's look at him. And then you don't know what to do with Garrett Cole because you know he's a good pitcher. This guy's a bullpen guy. He did start the last 2. He went 6 innings and gave up 2 runs, and he pitched 5 innings and gave up 4 runs. The rest has been 2 innings as a bullpen guy. So you got bullpen guy. See, that's the problem. The bullpen guy, and he has a 2.8 ERA, is very deceiving because he really is not like he's going 7 innings with the 2.8. He's going 2 innings with the 2.8. And it's easy to be in the bullpen and just pitch an inning or 2. You just, who are you pacing, right? If you're a lefty, you're probably facing lefties, and you just got to go the 1 inning. So, if you're not facing the meat of the order, if you're coming in for 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, or maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, yeah, you're probably going to have a low ERA if you get them out. You come in, you pitch to a few batters. I mean, of course, you're going to have a low ERA most of the time. There's some guys that just suck. But what this tells you is how weak pitching is in the major leagues. It's very, very weak right now. Very few. Here's a guy who's in the bullpen starting. You don't have starters, Boston. So I'm going to leave this alone. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to hit. We know they both can hit. The game's in New York, so they certainly can hit at Yankee Stadium. Yesterday was I had under 8, and they hit 8. Today's pitching, I don't know. Garrett Cole could shut them out, or they could hit Garrett Cole for 10 runs. You don't know. Not enough information on Garrett Cole. We know was a good pitcher, like Verlander was, and then he came to the Yankees and got killed, and then he's shut out everybody else. So, he is a good pitcher, so you really don't want to play an over in case he wakes up. Houston, Minnesota. Hunter Brown for Houston, 6-5 with a 4.07 against Joe Ryan, 5-5 with a 3.21. Minnesota's favored with Joe Ryan, over under 7.5. Okay, so this is the game we're looking for. Houston over 7.5, and this is 5 units. They played a 14-13 game or a 13-12 game yesterday with better pitching. You're not getting out Altuve, and Bregman's starting to hit, and the rest of the boys, they're going to hit. Minnesota can hit 7.5. I mean, Joe Ryan's 5-5 with a 3.21. He's not 9-0 with a 1.0. And Hunter Brown gives up a lot of runs. So although he shut out the Tigers, of course, but I'm gonna go over, and that's a real good play there. California and Chicago, the Cubbies. Cubbies are 158.5. Tyler Anderson, 7-8 with a 303 for California. Kyle Hendricks, oh my God, 1-6 with a 7.48. This is another over. We'll go Cubs over. And we're going over 8.5. We'll go 3 units because we don't trust California can hit the ball, but Kyle Hendricks is terrible. I mean, here's where 1-6 with the 7.4. How could you ever bet Kyle Hendricks? Tyler Anderson, 7-8 with a 303. So you would think California should win this game. But why are the Cubs a 150 favorite? Right? If you're ever going to look for a dog to take, this is the dog. Kyle Hendricks, 1-6 with the 7.48, and he's favored. He's a 150 favorite. Yeah, here's where you bet California as the dog with the guy with the 3.03 ERA against the guy with the 7.48 ERA. That line makes no sense. All right, so take the Angels. I'm taking the over. Tampa Bay, Texas, low scoring game yesterday. That's why I looked at the scores yesterday just to get an idea. Like Cincinnati beat the Yankees 3 straight, then they lose to the Tigers at home. I mean, it's like, wow. So you want to get perspective of who's hot, who's streaking, who's not, who's hitting, who's not. Tampa, Texas. Tampa Bay is a 105, so it's a pick 'em game. Over under 8. Ty Bradley, 3-4 to 3.42 for Tampa. Andrew Haney, 3-9 with the 404. There's so many guys that are like 2-10, 3-9, 1-7. It's insane how bad the pitching is. See, this isn't good, and you can't blame it on 5 innings or 6 innings. A good pitcher should go 7. I'm sorry, and then he should in the games. 3-9 with a 404. You want to blame it on 5 innings? No. So what do you got? I don't know. I can't bet on a 3-9 with a 404, a 3-4. I don't know. And if we look at the teams to really get a perspective, so Texas has a 4.54 ERA and a 2.38 batting average, and Tampa has a 4.34 ERA and a 2.36 batting average. So they're both identical. Terrible bullpens, and neither team can hit. So it's a twist because against the terrible bullpen with the kind of a weak starter, you want to go over, but the teams don't hit. But again, that's an average. So this could be a day they get 10 runs or get shut out. And that's what makes it very difficult on these type of teams to bet them. Houston, I got Altuve, I'll bet all day. Cleveland and San Diego and good hitting teams. Philadelphia, I can bet over on those. All right, St. Louis and Washington. Washington 130-9. Lance Lynn 4-3 with the 3.59. Mackenzie Gore 6-7 with the 3.47. So this is going to get down to what are they hitting? They played 7, 6, and 11 innings yesterday. St. Louis is a 3.57 bullpen with a 2.39 batting average. Washington, a 4.01 ERA with a 2.35 batting average. So they both hit in the 230s. It's amazing how many teams hit in the 230s. And what am I supposed to include walks in that? I mean, because now we're playing Moneyball and everybody's up there for a walk. See, I read 230 as 230. I don't read 230 as well. They need to walk or whatever, or there's OPS bullshit, which is basically how many extra base hits of the hits you have, how many are extra base hits. It's ridiculous. Who the fuck knows or cares? I just care about the batting average. That's the important stat, not the OPS. So guy's got a 600 OPS. Is that good? You don't know. Guy hits 310. You know that's good. But an OPS 600, is that good? And they make it sound like it's a batting average. Oh, he's hitting 600. It's stupid. They just throw out a stat and they take it and they don't know what it is. It's just like when they're trying to analyze gold, the paper gold, and this is what's happening. It's all fixed. You have no idea. There's no trend. It's just a lot of buying going on, and that makes the price go up. So shut the fuck up. All right. I can't bet this game. Over 9, St. Louis, Washington. I don't know. They don't hit enough. The pitching's okay. So here's where the pitching's 3-5 and 3-5. So it doesn't you don't know where it's going. They could be a 1-0 game or a 10-9 game. So why would I bet a game that I have no idea on, right? The Mets and Pitt. Pitt won 14-2 yesterday. Luke Skine pitched and he gave up. I don't know if he gave up any runs. It ended 14-2. The Mets are a favorite today, 135, 9.5. David Peterson, 3-0 with a 3.51. Bailey Falter, 4-6 with the 3.87. New York's been hitting well. Pittsburgh obviously hit well. Let's go over here. Maybe after a 14 2-touchdown performance, we got to go over 9.5. And I'm gonna play it for 2 units, right? I don't. Pitt doesn't have enough hitting, and the Mets have been hitting well, so 9.5 is a big number. Baltimore and Oakland. Baltimore minus 155 and 9. Cade Povich 1-2 with the 405 against Luis Medina 1-3 with the 480. So we're gonna love this game. Baltimore over 9. I like this one a lot more than the Pittsburgh one, so I'm gonna go 3 units here. Oakland's hitting all of 221 prevents me from really hitting this one hard, but Baltimore, I like. Baltimore should win this game. The 49ers, Cleveland. The 49ers won 4-2 yesterday. Montana got them in scoring position for a late field goal. Cleveland minus 138.5. Kyle Harrison, 4-3 with the 3.96 against Logan Allen, 8-4 with the 5.75. Clearly should be an over game. Now here we know Cleveland hits. Cleveland hits 245, but the problem is their bullpen's 250, and the Niners bullpen sucks, 447, and they hit 250. So 2 pretty good hitting teams. Cleveland with the better bullpen if they get there. See, if the Niners get the lead, Cleveland can't really use their bullpen. The bullpen's used to protect the lead. 8.5. Cleveland's pitching sucks. Let's go over here. These both teams can hit. Cleveland over 8.5. And we'll play it for 3 units. Toronto and Seattle. Now, Seattle can't hit. They got 5 guys that are not hitting 210. I mean, it's sad when you look at the box score and there's 3 guys in the 180s. It's just like the Tigers. They got one guy hitting under 100. They got another guy who got a hit and he's hitting 101. This guy Parker Meadows, he's hitting like .80. So they send him down and he's hitting a whopping 240 in the minor leagues. So they bring him up and he hits a home run the first time up, probably has his eyes closed, goes 1 for 4. Today he'll go 0 for 4 and 0 for 4 tomorrow, and he'll end up with back at .85. Why did you bring him up? He's not a major league hitter, right? A major league hitter to me goes to the minors, hits 400. Okay. If you can't hit 300 in the minor leagues, well, he's going to hit 300 in the pros. I mean, it doesn't work that way. It's like college football. If Caleb can't handle Notre Dame and UCLA's defense, well, what you going to do against the pros? I mean, come on. As Urban Meyer once said, it's like we're playing Alabama every week when he was coach at Jacksonville. Toronto, Seattle. Uriel Rodriguez, 0-3 with the 4.63 for Toronto. Seattle, Emerson Hancock, 3-3 with the 4.79. Now, you would normally go over with these crap pitchers, but Toronto can hit. Seattle can't hit. So I don't know what you're going to do here. You can't count on it. It'll be a 2-1 game, even though these pitchers suck. So let's look at the batting averages. Toronto hits 236 with the 4.77 ERA, and Seattle hits 218 with the 3.87. Yeah, you're not going to get over here. Seattle with a little bit better ball. Seattle's more of an under team. I don't know. The pitching sucks. There's no way I can play this game. This is an over game, over 8. You can't play it over. Seattle can't hit, so you just watch the game. Detroit is Cincinnati. Detroit's pitching a bullpen guy I heard on the radio yesterday on the way home from swim. So I don't know. Without pitchers, I know it's a bullpen guy. I have no idea. I mean, I can't pick if I don't have the pitching. The White Sox in Miami should be a low scoring game. The White Sox minus 160 and over under 7. Garrett Crockett for the White Sox, 6-6 with a 3.02 against Yanni Chirinos, 0-0 with a 3.77. Are you never heard of Yanni Chirinos? Are you a bullpen guy? Oh, this is a guy from Venezuela. So he's pitched 3 games, 5 innings, gave up 8 hits and 2 runs. 5 innings, gave up 3 hits and 1 run. And last time out, faced Philly, he only got 4 innings, gave up 9 hits and 3 runs. So, it's weird because the ERA looks good, but he's only pitching 5 innings and he gives up 2 runs and then 3 runs. So what do you do with this guy, right? Miami can't hit. Miami's hitting a whopping 230. Oh, they're heating up. The Sox are the worst team. They hit 220 with the 4.57 ERA. So they're terrible. Miami's terrible. Over under a 7. And the pitchers are bullpen guy 3.77 and a starter who's 6-6 with the 3.02. You'd probably have to go under because these teams can hit. They probably have at least 4 guys hitting under 200. But the problem is in baseball, the guy's hitting 180 and he gets 3 hits and a home run. You're like, how the fuck did that happen? I mean, that's just insanity. The guy hitting 180 should go 1 for 10 basically. He should never get 3 hits in a game. So that's bad managing because you don't know how to pitch to the guy. You don't know his weakness, which everybody else apparently knows. All right, so I'm going to watch that game. I would maybe go under, but it's 7, so I'm not going to fuck with it. But it's possibly an under. Here we go. The game of the day, Philly-Atlanta. In Atlanta, Philly's a 105, 8.5. Our boy Rangers Suarez, 10-2 with the 2.27 ERA against Spencer Swellenbach, 1-4 at the 5.68. Rangers been having his difficulties the last few, ever since they went to London, and he kind of gave up a few. We note his ERA was 1.7, is now 2.2, so he's been hit pretty good. Spencer Swellenbach is 1-4 at the 5.86. So we're going to go Philadelphia here. And we'll go 5 units because Philly's hotter than shit. But it's hard because you don't have our guy, Bryce Harper. Well, maybe you do, but right now we got to assume he's not playing. Although they ripped him yesterday. Ranger Suarez is not pitching good. See, that's where you look at the streak. So he got up there and he had a low ERA, but if you notice, it's not 1.8 anymore. It's 2.2, which means he's given up. He's had some problems. Spencer Swellenbach, Philly will hit the hell out of this guy. The problem is if Suarez is on, then Philly's going to win 6-0. You don't get your over. And if he's not on, then you're going to get a 15-run game. And that's really the problem with him. And that's because he's pitching every 5th day and he's only pitching 100. He's not building up. And that's why you need to this should all be 4 days, right? Every 4th day you should go and you should learn to pitch 150 pitches. Then he'd be fine. But he doesn't have timing, and it's just he's getting tired because it's just every 5th day. Like they think the guy won't get tired because it's every 5th day. It's just the reverse. I mean, if you're running, if you're a runner and you're running, what do? You build up, right? You're running for the marathon. Well, I'm going to do 10 miles today and 15 tomorrow, and 25 the next day, and you build up the endurance. Well, that's not what they're doing in baseball. The guy, well, he might get tired. Let's just, okay, 80 pitches. Come on out. We don't want you to get hurt. Meanwhile, he's never building up, and then he's getting tired because he's not building up the resistance to go every fourth day and 150 pitches, which should be the goal. How do you worry if the guy gets hurt? He's a professional athlete. Guy shouldn't be getting hurt. I don't know. Nolan Ryan didn't get hurt. Mickey Lolich, Bob Gibson. Koufax did hurt his arm, but after 7-8 years, man, if Koufax was pitching now and the guy tried to take him out, there's no way Koufax would just laugh at the guy, or Don Drysdale, or Gibson, of course. All these guys would just, no way. They wouldn't leave. They would not leave the mound. Jack Morris wouldn't leave them. I mean, this is like child's play. Pitch 100 pitches. These guys they're not building up. So by the end of the season, they're so tired because they haven't built up from 100 pitches that they're, so here goes Ranger Suarez. He's now 10-2 with the 2.27. I really doubt he's going to pitch a gem today because it's Atlanta, but I do think Philly will win because Schnellenberger is terrible. So it's probably a high scoring game here, but you never know. If Ranger pitches a 2-hit shutout, you're not going to hit your over. So you don't want to fuck around with that. He's not the pitcher you want to fuck around. It's like Scherzer or Verlander. You don't want to go over in those games. You want to keep it under, or that other guy on Houston now. It's amazing how Houston keeps finding these guys. Bianco no-hits the Tigers. Well, we got to pull him, though. He might hurt his arm. Oh, my God. All right, Milwaukee and the Dodgers. Milwaukee 105, 8.5. Freddie Peralta 6-4 at the 3.83. James Paxton for the Dodgers 7-2 for. Okay, we're going over here. LA over 8.5. We'll go 3 units. Both teams hit very well. Neither pitcher's any good. Peralta 6-4. Paxton 7-2 with the 4.28. Should be a lot of runs in this game. Kansas City, Colorado. Seth Lugo 11-2 with the 2.17 against Austin Gomer 1-5 with a 4. We love Seth Lugo 11-2 with the 2.17. How the fuck is this over under 10.5? I'm just taking KC. I'm not fucking around. I'm going to go 5 units on KC. I'm not going to fuck around with the over under. Yesterday I did. They only got 6 runs. And here, Seth Lugo is their ace with Singer, 11-2 with the 2.17. I don't see Colorado hitting him too much. And Austin Gomer, Colorado 1-5 with the 4.72. KC ought to have a field day. They ought to win by 5 runs. So take Kansas City there. I'm not fucking around with, 10.5. The guy shuts them out, and they win 8-0, and you lose because you went over 10.5. 10.5 is a high number. I really need bad pitching to do it. This is where I don't understand Vegas. You got Seth Lugo. He's 11-2 with the 2.17. And in what world do you give an over-under of 10.5? I don't care if the games in Colorado are on the moon. What are you thinking? What are you doing? You're thinking what? I mean, Colorado's going to be lucky to score in the game, at least for the first 7 innings. KC should have their way. So do you think KC? Okay, so you think KC's going to score 11 runs, but then KC's only a 165 favorite. They should be like a 250 favorite. So this to me, I'd have it at 8, maybe 9, and I'd have KC like a minus 200 at least with this guy in the mound. All right, and our last but not least, Arizona at San Diego. The Chargers have been smoking hot. Arizona 105, 7.5. Brandon Pfaadt 3-6 with the 4.28 against Matt Waldron 5-7, 3.56. Over under 7.5. We're going over here. San Diego over 7.5, and we're going to go 5 units on that. So let's recap. Well, let's refresh and see if I got the Tiger pitchers. It's 12:30. The Tiger game, I think, is tonight. It's 4:10. Still no pitchers, so we'll have to leave that alone. Okay. Since I ignored the games I'm not playing, let's go with the games I am. So to recap, Houston over 7.5, 5 units. They're hitting Altuve, Bregman. We're going over 7.5. The Cubbies over 8.5, 3 units. Pittsburgh over 9.5, 2 units. Baltimore over 9, 3 units. Cleveland over 8.5, 3 units. Philly, Rangers Suarez, 5 units. LA over 8.5, 3 units. Kansas City, they got their ace going, 5 units. And San Diego over 7.5, 5 units. So that's it. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games. Realistically, we're trying to get 6-3. And more importantly, we're trying to hit the 5. Philly, Kansas City, they're pretty hot. Houston over, I like that a lot. So that's what you're shopping for, and then you're getting the feel. So if I go back to that one Blackjack movie where Kevin Costner's like 10 years old, it was a movie that it just came on, and it's an old movie. It's like in the 80s. And there's Kevin Costner, some girl, I have no idea who she is. And she's like a blackjack player. And she can, I guess, count the cards, even though I'm not really sure. It's never clear. I think she's a card counter. And she's winning a little. She doesn't know what to do. She's winning a little. Kevin Costner helps her. And then Kevin Costner introduces to some guy. And she says, well, I know all the charts and everything else. He says, forget all that. I thought I was watching myself. He says, you want to feel the cards. So you want to sense the cards, not look at the charts, which is exactly what I do with gold and everything else in football. And she started feeling the cards. So she starts saying, oh, that's a 10 and that's an ace and that's a 7. So she's, when she doesn't see the cards, she's reading the cards. So she's doing it by feel. And that had a lot of interest for me because that's exactly how I pick my game. That's how I do everything. It's really the emotion and the feel. And when I talk football, you'll hear, do you like the game or are you feeling the game? And usually the big bats I feel, and I just know they're going to win. Mahomes was a dog in the playoffs. I knew they were going to win. I knew Mahomes and 9 and all the Buffalo, Baltimore, Frisco were winners. I could feel that. And that's really what you're trying to get to. That's why I'm so against these formulas, because it takes the emotion out, and you don't want to take the emotion out. You want to feel, you want to play poker. You want to feel, I'll get a feel at poker. I'll sit there and know that I won. I know it before we even bet the river. I know I won. I could feel it. And that's an important part you don't want to forget or throw out. That's why I'm so against this math stuff with I keep wanting to call it algorithm analytics. So in football, when you go for it on 4th and 1 or 2, I get so vehemently opposed to it because it's got to be a feel thing, not a math thing. That's where these coaches have problems. I watched Oregon lose to Washington twice going for it on 4th down and not making it. I saw the Lions twice against the Niners do it and lose going to the Super Bowl. They should have went to the Super Bowl. They would have lost to Kansas City, but they should have. The coach should have went with his gut, not the math. You should have realized you're playing the 49ers, and the odds in you making it are probably 5%, not the 50% vanilla thing. So that's the problem when you go with numbers. I watched San Diego against Minnesota, and they had the ball. They have a 4-point lead with like 45 seconds left in the game at the mini 24 on 4th and 1, and the idiot coach goes for it. And he doesn't make it. Minnesota holds them. I love the plays. Let's run up the middle. They won't be expecting that, and they run up the middle. They lose 2 yards, and you're just like, who is this offensive coordinator? What is he, some idiot? Like, A child would call a better play than run up the middle on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. And they always wonder why it doesn't work. I watched Michigan Ohio State games, 1974. Bo twice at the goal line, 3 times at the one series, goes for it. Fourth, 3rd and 1 at the 1, 4th and 1 at the 1. The play calls were so stupid. Then he finally scores, and he goes for 2, and he throws the pass, and his guy's wide open. You're like, hello, why aren't you running that play 4th and 1? They would never be expecting that play. It's just amazing how stupid the coordinators are and the coaches. Like, do you think that's actually going to work? Why don't you kick a field goal and tie the game at 14-all? So anyway, that's the point of the feel. It's got to be, do you think it's going to work or not? If you take emotion out and just leave it to analytics, you're going to lose every time. Like I said, it cost Oregon the playoff because they should have beat them. They were up 3 points, I think, or 3 or 4 points in Washington late in the game. They had the ball at midfield. It's 4th-and-1 or 4th-and-2. It can't be 40 seconds left. All you got to do is punt the ball. The game's over. And he goes for it, runs up the middle, doesn't get it. 2 plays later, Penix throws a touchdown pass. You gave them momentum. You gave them emotion. If you kick the ball, even in the end zone, they got to go 80 yards. So it was just, and Oregon had a hell of a defense. That shows you how good Washington is and how good Penix is. But it's incredibly stupid. So Oregon loses the playoff because of the coach has his head up his ass because he goes for it at midfield on 4th-and-2, and everybody justifies, well, it was a good call. Was it? They lost the game. Was it a really good call? And the same with the Lions here. Well, they went for it twice and they didn't get it. But he was aggressive, but you lost the game. You could have went to the Super Bowl had you kicked 2 field goals. You lost by 3. Don't tell me it was a good call. It's about winning the game. You didn't win the game, no matter how you want to say it. That's the problem when you look at numbers and you don't use emotions in your head. And when you take that out and you just look at emotions and you just go, oh, I'm gonna leave emotions at the door, Rusty, and I'm gonna, like Ocean's 11, and I'm gonna just, well, if it's 4th-and-2, the book says go for it, go for it. And that's what they do with these extra points. Well, the book says if I'm down 14 and I score, I should go for 2. Because, if I miss, I'm down 9. What a great idea. And if I make it, I'm down 7. And then all I need is another touchdown to tie the game. Because that's what I should be doing, because getting touchdowns is very difficult. And getting 2-point conversions when the game's close is extremely difficult. So why am I doing this? Right? I mean, look at the Lions in Dallas. They kept going for 2. Why? Well, that's what the book said. You're going for 2 at the 7-yard line because the book says you should go for 2. And you want to cry about the referees and you want to cry that you didn't win the game, a game that you easily should have won because Dallas sucked at the time. Ask Green Bay. See, that's the difference. Green Bay goes and pounds them, and Detroit struggles with Dallas and got lucky and they may even make it close. But that's the point. Dallas is so bad they could only score 20 in Detroit. But again, why did you go for it? Okay, maybe the first time doesn't make any sense. You should tie the game up. We're going for the win. Yeah, but if you lose, if you miss, you lose. Why would you want to do that? Get the tie, and then you go into overtime, you can win. It just makes no sense. And that's because you're not a good coach. You're not listening to the number. You're listening to the math, not the skill. You have no skill to feel the game and go, here we should probably kick the extra point. But they're so automatic. We're down 14. We're going to go for 2. And you're like, why wouldn't you just kick the extra point? And now you're down 7. So you realize if you miss, 14, you got 6. So you're down 8. Okay. So you're down 8. If you miss, you're still down 8. Now what? Now you got to score, get a 2-point conversion to tie. And how is that? Like, how is that a better scenario? See, they don't look at what if I miss. They only look at if I get it. So if I get the 2-point conversion, then I'm down 6 and I can win the game with, so they're playing to win, but that's not how you play the game. You don't play to win like that. First of all, you're down 14. Your defense sucks. Secondly, you're going for 2, and the odds on getting it are very slim. And if I miss it, now I'm down 8. Now I need a 2-point conversion to tie instead of kicking the extra point. Then let's see if we score a touchdown. And then if we do get the touchdown, then maybe we go for 2 in the win. But at least it gives me that option. The way you're doing it, if I miss the first one, I got to get the second 2-point conversion just to tie the game. So how am I in a better situation? Anyway, that's my point. You have to feel it. You cannot, it's a field. It's not, you can't take emotion out. You can't say, you know what? We're just going to play by the book. Go for 2 here. We're going to go for 4th downs here. That's how I'm going to coach. Well, good luck. We'll see you at your next job. That's just incredibly stupid. There's a time to go for 2, and there's a time to go for 4th and 1, but it's not in the middle of the third quarter when you're leading by 17 points. It's probably not the time to go for 4th and 2. You got to understand the whole condition. Kick your field goal. I think they were up 14 at the time. Go back up 17. And you've run time off the clock and you've got momentum. But what happens? They don't get it. The Niners score. And then the next play, the Lions have the ball. They fumble because they lost momentum. All of a sudden, the Niners are hitting harder because they got the momentum. And now the game's tied because you fucked up. You gave them momentum. But you don't, in your math thing, you don't even understand that. So it's a pretty hard pill to swallow when your coach doesn't know what he's doing. And if he's relying on math, then you don't need a coach, right? What do I need a head coach for? Get him out of that. I don't need a head coach. All I need is, okay, if it's 4th and 2, go for it, and if we score, go for 2, right? I mean, I don't need a coach for that. Otherwise, what does he do? I got an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. What do I need a coach for? Oh, he pumps them up. Yeah, that doesn't work. Look at Chuck Noll. He didn't want you sitting on the helmet. He didn't want all the emotion. He says, motion only lasts 5 minutes and then it wears out. We need good skill. We need good plays, right? I mean, how many times did Chuck Noll go for 2? And he won how many Super Bowls? I mean, that's the point. And the only time he went for it on 4th down was in that one Super Bowl when Bradshaw was out, and he didn't want the punt block. So he went for it to say, defense, just win it for us. And that's it. I mean, but that's nobody, you're taking far too much risk, and you're not looking at the result if you miss. So they're only saying, well, I should go for it. I'll make it 51% of the time. And you're like, no, that's crazy. Anyway, so that is that. Let's look at, so let's quickly go to brics and gold. And so we see the gold price. We know brics, and I'm not going to tell you all the fucking countries because I hate that. And so they're buying gold, they're accumulating. They're going to go to a gold back system, according to Mark McGuire, September, October timeframe. They're buying it up. Comex is running out of gold, so they won't be able to keep the derivatives. So we're going to see a very high gold price. The dollar we know is being printed to nothing. People still think, well, we can just keep printing. And, because I don't know what being the reserve currency means about keep printing. You can't keep printing. You will have hyperinflation. I love when this guy, I listened to one guy, he's such an idiot. And he was explaining about tying the dollar to gold. And that's why Germany had hyperinflation, is the gold price, keeping the gold price low. And you're sitting there going, it doesn't make sense. The dollar goes out because you print too much of it. They were printing 1 billion Reichsmarks or Deutschmarks a day, and yet all the prices kept going down. What do they have to do with gold? I mean, I don't get the connection between the dollar and gold. Sorry, there's no correlation. Gold is priced in dollars. That's it. But there's really, if gold price is 10,000 or 100,000, has no bearing on it. If that's what it takes for people to get out of the dollar to buy gold, why aren't they in mantle cards now? I'm seeing $60,000 mantle cards. So why would I stay in the dollar? Why don't I go in the mantle card? I mean, it's the same correlation. The mantle card is 60 or 80,000, has no bearing on the dollar. Why does gold? Gold's just another asset. Gold is money. Why do we need to keep the price down? I don't get the correlation. Sorry. Makes no sense to me because they're two independent things. The dollar's the dollar. That's your medium of exchange, but you printed it to zero. You can't print $20 trillion and 150 trillion, 130 trillion out there and think it's good. You can't do that. I mean, it doesn't. That's your problem. Tying it to gold or gold price low or high doesn't matter. How does that matter? I still don't follow because it's not backed by gold. It's just independent. So when these guys come up with it, that's when you know they're Keynesians and you can't follow the logic. Why do we need a low gold price for the dollar? And then you're telling me in Nazi Germany in the 20s, they had hyperinflation. It was because of a low gold price. What did that have to do with anything? And Nixon got off of it because he kept printing money and everybody wanted their gold. So he had to get off the gold and suspended the gold and take the dollar off gold because he couldn't pay everybody. So what is it? He had to get off because he kept printing. So in a gold standard, you can only print as many dollars as you have gold, right? So if I got $1 billion in gold, I got $1 billion. I can print $1 billion. However, I could raise the price of gold and that would do it. So having a low price of gold, what does that have to do with anything? That means it keeps the dollar printing down. I don't know. Makes no sense. Now I showed you yesterday. Well, I can show you again. The Japanese came out with this new currency. So you know you're in trouble when you start seeing this. Let's see, where did I put it? All right. So when you start seeing this is the yen's new dollars, 10,000, 5,000, 1,000. When you start seeing this, run for the exits. The yen's gone, right? Because their dollar's worthless, right? So they need a $10,000 note to buy milk because they've printed too much. So what does the gold price have to do with the yen printing too much, having worthless money? That's what it tells me, is their money's worthless, right? Because if it wasn't, I take you back to 1971. A Pepsi cost a dime. A house costs, what did a house cost? Where's my thing? A car costs 4,000 and a house costs 25,000. That's all you needed was $4,000 to buy a car because the money had value. Now a car's 30,000, 35,000, right? Plus the interest rates make it really expensive to own one. And this is the point. So the yen so now a $10,000 yen was to buy a Coke. I don't think you can get a car for 10,000 or for 4,000. So it shows you the strength of the dollar, right? $37 for an ounce of gold shows you that's all it takes for the ounce of gold. Now you need 2,400, 2,500 because you got to pay the premium for the ounce of gold. The gold's the same. The dollar's lost value. It takes more dollars to buy it. That's the whole, you printed, and when you print, then the loss of purchasing power, that's the purchasing power. The dollar It takes more dollars to purchase the ounce of gold. Did the ounce of gold go up in price? It did in dollars, right? So the dollar lost value. The gold price didn't really rise. However, what I keep arguing is with all the demand on gold, the gold price will rise, not because of the dollar being hurt, because the demand for gold forces the price up. And that's really the point. That's what you're looking at, is that's what's happening. So it's the purchasing power of the yen is so weak, and now this is what they need. Well, do we have that? We don't have $1,000 bill or a 5 or a 10. But as soon as you see that, go out and buy as much gold as you can. The game's over. This means the game's over. They can't. They gotta. It's worthless. So they gotta come out with higher denominations. Zimbabwe had a $1 trillion bill or whatever. Venezuela, all these countries with these big value dollars, they're always worth like a cent or $1 or something. They're not worth anything. But it's all, the game's over when you see it. So when the US starts coming out with this, game's over. So again, I don't follow some guy saying, well, they kept the gold price down for Nazi Germany. No, the inflation was they printed to get out of the debt they had for the war. So they had to pay, and they printed dollars to pay. And the more dollars they printed, they would lose value. So this is when a Keynesian starts talking, and it throws me for a loop. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. There is no correlation between the price of gold and the value of the dollar. Sorry, it's priced in dollars. But again, if the gold price goes to 5,000, 10,000 an ounce, doesn't mean anything, because it depends how it gets there. Does it get there because the dollar's worthless, or does it get there from demand? And now it's demand. It's all these countries wanting gold, so the price goes up. That's what it is. So why does the US want a low gold price? It makes no sense. Oh, so the dollar is stronger? The dollar's not strong because you printed the fuck out of it. You printed 130 trillion outside, and you printed 21 trillion inside. That's 150 trillion. That's why the dollar's not worth anything. And that's why in 1971 you could get a Pepsi for 10 cents. Now it's 250 because the dollar had value and now it doesn't. So what? Pepsi should keep their price down so it doesn't affect the dollar? I mean, that whole logic about the gold and the gold price has to be low. This is the problem. These are Keynesians talking, and this is why they're pushing the derivatives down. They feel they need a low gold price to keep the dollar. It's got nothing to do with it. Again, this is where the problems arise with the Keynesians versus the Austrians. As an Austrian, I don't see any reason for the gold price to be down. Stop printing the dollar. You're destroying the dollar. The gold price doesn't do anything to the dollar. The gold price is the gold price. So that's the bottom line, really. There's no real correlate. I mean, I don't see why the gold price needs to be low if you're printing dollars. So that whole comment I don't get. Anyway, when you do see this, when you see the US come out with $10,000, $5,000, $1,000 bills, it's all done. That's when hyperinflation hits. That's when the dollar has no value. If you need $10,000 to buy a can of Coke, run. Don't walk to the exits. So that is Japanese. So anyway, I went over Mark McGuire yesterday. It was a nothing show. Some guy I never heard of. I love how Mark goes, oh, this guy needs no introduction. So in my comments, I said, I don't know who this guy is. He doesn't impress me. And that's why I wanted to talk about stocks. So you got to understand stocks go up and down based on supply and demand. It's free market. Now, it can be manipulated like our comex friends, where they go and dump a bunch of stock to lower the price so they can buy it. So as they do in gold, where it's not supply and demand, it's the derivatives lowering the price because it's all paper so they can buy it cheaper. That's the manipulation of gold and stocks. So let's say they want to buy Apple, they being the politicians who print the money to buy the stocks. So they want to buy Apple and it's 150. I don't want to buy it at 150s. So they dump and they put a bunch of sell orders in on Apple. The next thing you know, it's 120. Then all the politicians pile on the bus and they print the money and they buy Apple stock at 120, goes up to 150, 160, 170, and then they get off. Okay, we've got our money, goodbye. And they call it profit taking. It's all bullshit, right? They're the ones putting in these orders to lower the price, and then they put in the orders to raise the price because they're actually buying. And then once they bought, they get out, then they get out, and then it's, but stocks should be free market. So in other words, if people want to buy Coca-Cola, the price should go up. And if there's bad news on Coke, the price goes down. Everybody dumps. And that's how the free market should work in gold and silver, but it isn't a free market. It's controlled and manipulated. However, so is Wall Street. Remember, these are banks, and banks are very corrupt. And you have to be careful. So Wall Street's a bunch of banks, and then your commercial banks are a bunch of banks. Wells Fargo's not a Wall Street bank, but they have, they do sell mortgages and car payments and stuff, car loans. And the same thing with, Chase. JP Morgan's more of a Wall Street bank. Goldman Sachs is more of a Wall Street bank. But they're all banks controlling the economy with no money. They print money. I mean, it's crazy. You go to a bank, I want my 100 grand. We don't have it. Maybe we'll give it to you. Maybe we don't have it. What do you mean you don't have it? Well, we don't actually keep the money that you have in your account in the bank. They can order you the money at this point. I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to order it. And they're struggling to keep it going, but